Hey Twitches, it's Emma. Emma, your girl Emma, life's a Twitch Emma. Today I wanted to talk about Echolalia, Echopraxia, and Echoskepsi. I kind of did a video about Echolalia like years ago, but I wanted to make this one a little bit more focused and to talk about a little bit more with it. To get started, if you have Tourette's, you know that echo-type tics make it a little bit hard for people with Tourette's to be in the same room as each other. I've talked to a lot of Touretters online who have other friends in person with Tourette's, and sometimes they set each other's tics off, and a lot of the time they don't seem to mind. But for me, I don't really especially like to gain tics from other people. This being said, the echo-type tics are not just tics that are passed between, two different people with Tourette syndrome or multiple people with Tourette syndrome. So let's get into all of this. Echolalia is the uncontrollable repetition of vocalizations made by another person. For instance, if you made a silly little sound, I might have to make that silly little sound that you just made. I've experienced this so much over the years, especially when my brother and I were younger. He would make repetitive sounds a lot. He doesn't have Tourette's or tics or anything, but just him being young, he liked to make repetitive sounds. I would then repeat his repetitive sounds, and my parents would tell him to stop, but he was really young, so he just wouldn't most of the time. And I don't think that he fully comprehended that what he was doing was really affecting me and kind of distressing me. Because, here's the thing. Sometimes the repetition that I do of someone else's sounds with my echolalia can last for a few seconds. And then other times it can last for a few years, because it can turn into a whole tic. That's funny, a whole tic. Like, are there half tics? Over the years when explaining echolalia to friends, a phrase that I like to say a lot that I've coined a little bit is that you may make this sound for 7 seconds, but I could make it for 7 years. Hence the whole, it could become a tic thing. Let's move on to Echopraxia. Echopraxia is the uncontrollable repetition of movements made by another person. One time, one of my really good friends got Echopraxia and Echolalia mixed up, and she was like beating her hand on her laptop, and she was like, "Oh no, is that gonna trigger your Echolalia?" And I was like, "Oh, good try." It could trigger my Echopraxia, but Echopraxia is not as prevalent in my life personally, not as prevalent as Echolalia, but it still occurs. It happens for me a lot if I see really repetitive movements, or even like movements from a person who has Tourette's and I know it's a tic for them, and for some reason that makes me want to do it more. Especially with Echopraxia tics, I get a big urge to do those, because Tourette's really likes to make me do things that I really don't want to do. That's kind of part of Tourette's thing. When I see people like flipping other people off, that's a big one for me, where my Echopraxia kicks in and it's like, you need to flip someone off too, or just flip off the general void. But I found a way to kind of like redirect it, and I kind of stretch my middle finger in a way that like kind of satisfies it. So it's okay. And next, Echoskepsi. Yeah. Echoskepsi is the uncontrollable repetition of words/sounds in the mind. It's basically the mental form of Echolalia. Kind of like in that other video when I talked about Coprolalia, how Echoskepsi was the mental version of Coprolalia. For instance, you could say a sentence and then the person with Echoskepsi could repeat like the last few words or the whole sentence in their mind a few times, which can be disruptive. So yeah, that's the echo-type tics. Echolalia and Echopraxia were actually a big reason why I didn't do camps like Twitch and Shout growing up. I was just really scared of having to repeat others and like gaining new tics at those types of camps, like with other people with Tourette syndrome. My advice is to not let this fear hold you back if you have this fear, because it can be holding you back from something that's otherwise really great and like an amazing experience. I've heard so many people have gone to like Tourette's camps and had a great time and learned a lot about themselves and others, and I just really wish I would have gone. But also, not wanting to gain other people's tics is valid. Anyway, I hope you learned something today. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for watching. You could like, you could comment, you subscribe if you so feel inclined. And I hope you do. Thanks, Twitches. Bye!